When Owen Mercer moved into Briar Hollow, he was searching for something painfully ordinary. After a breakup that had left his apartment echoing and a job loss that had left his days shapeless, the quiet suburban neighborhood felt like a promise of stability. Rows of identical houses, trimmed hedges, quiet streets, and neighbors who waved politely from their driveways. It was exactly the kind of place where nothing unusual ever happened. That illusion lasted less than 24 hours. The morning after he finished unpacking, Owen opened his front door to find a cream-colored flyer taped neatly to the wood. The paper was thick, almost expensive, printed in elegant lettering that felt strangely formal for a suburban notice. It invited him to a meeting of the Briar Hollow Neighborhood Watch and ended with a sentence that felt oddly serious: community safety is everyone's responsibility. He didn't hesitate to attend. Joining felt like a step toward belonging, toward rebuilding a sense of normalcy. He imagined polite conversations, discussions about porch lights and suspicious cars, maybe cookies and awkward introductions. Instead, he walked into Clara Whitmore's living room and stepped into something he didn't understand. The room was filled with neighbors seated in folding chairs, all facing Clara as if attending a lecture. She carried herself with a calm authority that made the room quiet the moment she began speaking. But she didn't talk about crime. She talked about patterns, timelines, consistency, and the importance of observation. At first, Owen assumed it was an eccentric way of discussing neighborhood safety. But the rule booklet they handed out told a different story. It instructed members to record when lights turned on and off, to note minor changes in routine, to report inconsistencies. There was no mention of calling the police. His first assignment was simple. Watch Maple Street. Report anything unusual. He expected boredom, and boredom is exactly what he got. Until 10:11 p.m., when every streetlight on the block shut off at the exact same moment for exactly 3 seconds. The lights returned. The street looked normal. But the silence that lingered afterward felt heavier than darkness. The next meeting revealed something unsettling. The blackout hadn't alarmed the group. It had relieved them. Clara simply nodded and said, "Then it's holding." It was the first time Owen heard the word boundary. The deeper he became involved, the stranger his assignments grew. He was told to observe a house that had supposedly been empty for years. Yet curtains shifted at night. Lights flickered faintly in upstairs windows. Footprints appeared in morning dew and stopped abruptly at the sidewalk, as if their owner had vanished mid-step. Marisol, a nurse who attended meetings despite exhausting night shifts, was the first to tell him the truth, or at least part of it. She warned him they weren't watching for crime. They were watching for repetition. Owen didn't understand until the morning his alarm clock repeated itself. The same radio joke. The same barking dog. The same spilled coffee. At first he thought it was coincidence. Then it happened again. And again. The realization arrived slowly and then all at once. Days in Briar Hollow were repeating. He tried to break the pattern by smashing his coffee mug before bed. In the morning, the mug sat whole and untouched on the counter. That night, when he stood beneath a streetlight as it flickered off, he felt the world go quiet in a way that felt wrong, like reality holding its breath. Clara finally explained what the neighborhood watch truly was. Years earlier, Briar Hollow began experiencing temporal instability. Days looping. Moments resetting. People disappearing when the repetition went unchecked. The watch didn't stop crime. It stopped erasure. Observation, she explained, anchored reality. If enough people witnessed events, the day continued forward instead of resetting. The neighborhood watch existed to keep time moving. The first disappearance shattered Owen's last piece of denial. Thomas, the neighbor who had welcomed him, simply stopped showing up. No one else seemed to remember him. His house was empty. His life erased like a chalk drawing in rain. From that moment, the stakes became real. Grant, one of the longest members, admitted he had lived the same week dozens of times before the group learned how to slow the loops. He described the exhaustion of repeating conversations, repeating routines, repeating fear until memory blurred and emotions dulled. You lose parts of yourself, he said quietly. And if we stop watching, we lose everything. The blackouts grew longer. 3 seconds became 5. Then 10. During the darkness, neighbors began seeing shapes at the edges of the street. Figures standing where no one should be. Watching back. Inside the empty house on Briar Lane, Owen found a wall covered in clocks. Hundreds of them ticking in perfect synchronization, except one. A single clock ticking backward. When he touched it, the house flickered between different versions of itself, as though time had layered multiple realities on top of each other. And in one of those flickers, he saw Thomas. You have to keep watching, Thomas told him. Or it resets again. Clara eventually revealed why she had started the watch. Her husband had vanished during one of the earliest loops. She refused to let the neighborhood disappear the same way. The longest blackout came without warning. 10 full seconds of darkness. In that silence, Owen heard whispers layered on top of each other, voices that didn't belong to anyone standing nearby. When the lights returned, Marisol was gone. Clara eventually revealed why she had started the watch. Her husband had vanished during one of the earliest loops. She refused to let the neighborhood disappear the same way. The longest blackout came without warning. 10 full seconds of darkness. In that silence, Owen heard whispers layered on top of each other, voices that didn't belong to anyone standing nearby. When the lights returned, Marisol was gone. No one but Owen remembered her. Refusing to let her vanish completely, Owen began documenting everything about her, photographs, notes, stories. He forced the others to read them aloud, to anchor her existence through memory. The next blackout lasted only 3 seconds. Hope returned for the first time. Over time, Owen realized something else was changing. He no longer woke surprised by repetition. He anticipated it. He noticed the smallest inconsistencies. The smallest shifts. He was becoming what Clara once was, the anchor. Years passed. The blackouts became brief again. The loops grew weaker. Clara finally stepped back, exhausted after years of holding the neighborhood together. Now Owen stands at his window each night at 10:11, notebook in hand, watching the street as the lights flicker for a brief heartbeat before returning. The neighborhood still looks peaceful. Still looks perfect. But he knows better. The Briar Hollow Neighborhood Watch still meets every Thursday night. They still take notes. They still observe every small detail. Because they're not watching crime. They're watching reality, and as long as someone keeps watching, tomorrow continues to exist.